Greetings, dear subscribers and casual listeners of my channel. Today, I decided to talk about some characters from the Harry Potter series who may not have received enough attention from fans, despite playing a significant role in the events. And now, I want to restore justice and introduce you to these interesting, yet somewhat forgotten heroes. Enjoy the video. Number 1. Regulus Black. The life of Regulus Black is revealed through the memories of other characters, but his story deserves more attention. As a member of the Black family, he grew up with pride in his pure-blood heritage and joined the Death Eaters, inspired by Voldemort's idea of magical supremacy. However, realizing how far Voldemort was willing to go, Regulus turned against him. He stole Slytherin's locket, sacrificing himself to prevent his master from using it. Sadly, this story was not explored in much detail, and Regulus remains an unsung hero. Number 2. Kreacher. A gloomy and unpopular character, Kreacher became even less liked after Sirius's betrayal in the 5th book. However, in the final book, his true nature is revealed. Kreacher talks about how Voldemort tortured him, forcing him to protect the Horcrux, and how he failed to fulfill Regulus Black's last wish by destroying the stolen locket. During the Battle of Hogwarts, Kreacher showed nobility, and his character was re-evaluated in a more positive light. Number 3. Luna Lovegood. Luna Lovegood is one of the most unique characters in the Harry Potter world. An eccentric witch with an unusual sense of fashion and views, she initially seemed amusing, but as the story progressed, her character developed in a different light. Luna was one of the few who believed in Harry and joined Dumbledore's army. She also showed tenderness and care, comforting Hermione and speaking fondly of Dobby in the final book. Luna wasn't afraid to be herself, and that made her one of the most memorable characters, even if she lived in the shadow of others. Number 4. Rita Skeeter. Rita Skeeter is a character who, more than anyone else, sparked strong dislike. As a ruthless reporter, she wrote articles that damaged the reputations of many characters, from Hagrid to Dumbledore. Instead of focusing on the truth, Rita followed sensationalism, and her work was widely criticized. Despite this, she was not a supporter of Voldemort and did not use the dark arts. She simply did her job masterfully, but without any remorse. Number 5. Percy Weasley. Percy Weasley is a character whose complex and multifaceted personality was not fully explored in the films. In the books, Percy was an intelligent and ambitious young man who at one point had a falling out with his family and refused to believe in Voldemort's return, joining the Ministry. His redemption came at the very end of the story when, reunited with his family, he apologized for his behavior. This important storyline was omitted from the films, and that's a shame. It shows that even the perfect Weasleys weren't so perfect after all. Number 6. Victor Krum. Victor Krum is an example of how Rowling skillfully defied stereotypes. A world-famous Quidditch star and participant in the Tri-Wizard tournament, Krum could have been portrayed as an arrogant athlete, but instead he turned out to be the complete opposite. Krum didn't enjoy his fame and chose Hermione as his date, which surprised many. His talent and humility make him an interesting character, despite his brief appearance in the books. Number 7. Kingsley Shacklebolt. Kingsley Shacklebolt was one of the most reliable and magically gifted members of the Order of the Phoenix. However, his screen time in the films was minimal, which may have contributed to his character being overlooked. In the books, Kingsley proved himself as a master of the aura profession, acting as a double agent to monitor Cornelius Fudge and the Ministry. He also participated in the Battle of Hogwarts, fighting against Voldemort. Kingsley was highly respected among wizards, and by the end of the story, he was appointed Minister for Magic. Number 8. Lee Jordan. Lee Jordan, best known as the best friend of the Weasley twins, was often seen by fans as just a Quidditch commentator, joker and wisecrack. In the films, his character was reduced to a comedic figure with little exploration of his deeper qualities. His quick wit and loud voice made him memorable, but there was so much more to him. Behind his jokes and commentary, Lee was a man of great courage and conviction. "I'm only doing this because I believe in the truth," he said, when he took on a much more dangerous role. It was Lee who organized Potterwatch, the underground radio station that broadcasted the truth during the time when the Ministry was under the control of Death Eaters. With the risk of being caught and punished, Lee and his friends worked tirelessly to keep the wizarding community informed and hopeful. His bravery in the face of such danger went unnoticed by many, but it was a vital part of the resistance. Lee wasn't just a clown or a sidekick, he was a true hero who risked everything to keep the fight against Voldemort alive. "The truth will always get through one way or another," he said, embodying the spirit of defiance in the darkest of times. Number 9, Oliver Wood. Oliver Wood, the captain of the Gryffindor Quidditch team, was often seen as a fanatical athlete, obsessed with winning at all costs. In the books and films, his role seemed limited to passionate speeches about Quidditch and an almost desperate desire to win the school cup. "We'll win this, or die trying," he would shout to his team, often pushing them to their limits. His intensity was hard to miss, and while it was clear he cared deeply about the game, many overlooked the leadership qualities that made him more than just a sport-obsessed captain. What most failed to see was that Oliver Wood was a fantastic leader and mentor. He wasn't just about the victories, he was about building a team that believed in each other. His dedication and ability to lift the spirits of his players during tough times made him stand out. For example, after the loss of their first match in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Oliver didn't blame anyone. Instead, he encouraged them to learn from their mistakes and improve as a unit. "We'll do better next time," he said, rallying his team with a quiet but unwavering confidence. Wood's leadership wasn't just about winning, it was about shaping the spirit of the team, and that made him a true example of teamwork and resilience. Number 10, Madame Pomfrey. Madame Pomfrey, the Hogwarts matron, didn't possess the flashy charisma of Dumbledore or the eccentric charm of McGonagall, but without her, the students' lives would have been far more difficult. She was more than just a healer who patched up sprained ankles or burns. She faced the aftermath of some of the most dangerous spells and magical accidents that occurred in the school. "You're lucky you're still in one piece," she would often say, her no-nonsense attitude never wavering as she dealt with whatever injury or ailment the students brought her way. How many times did Harry, Ron, and Hermione find themselves in her care? From Quidditch accidents to injuries sustained in the midst of their adventurous escapades, Madame Pomfrey was always there, tending to them with care and precision. Without her expertise, the trio might not have been able to continue their studies or their battles against dark forces. Her steady hand and soothing words became the calm in the storm of their chaotic lives. "You'll be fine in a few hours, Mr. Potter," she reassured Harry after yet another close call, her professionalism evident in every word. Her patience, professionalism, and caring nature were qualities that went unappreciated by many. Yet, without Madame Pomfrey, the students of Hogwarts would have faced far greater hardships. She never asked for recognition or praise, quietly ensuring that the students could heal and return to their important tasks. Behind the scenes, Madame Pomfrey's contributions were invaluable, and yet she remained one of the most overlooked heroes of the series. Number 11, Emmeline Vance. Emmeline Vance's name barely echoed in the halls of the wizarding world, easily overlooked by many readers. Yet for those who knew her, she was one of the most reliable and steadfast members of the Order of the Phoenix. She was part of the original group, standing strong against the first rise of Voldemort. Even after his return, Emmeline took up arms once again, unwavering in her commitment to the fight. She wasn't a loud figure, but her presence in the order was invaluable. "We fight not for glory, but because it is the right thing to do," she would often remind her fellow members. The Ministry of Magic considered Emmeline a threat from the start, always watching her closely, and Voldemort himself ordered her death. She had become one of the Resistance's quiet warriors fighting in the shadows. While others like Sirius or Harry stood in the light, Emmeline fought in the background, carrying out dangerous tasks without seeking praise. She did not crave the spotlight. Her work was enough. "We're not here for thanks," she said, quietly, before one of her most perilous missions. Her words lingered long after her passing. Emmeline's death was a silent, tragic reminder of those who fought in the shadows without recognition or glory. It marked the loss of a true soldier who never sought fame but quietly sacrificed everything for the cause. "Her loss will be felt," Arthur Weasley remarked, reflecting on the absence of a hero who remained nameless to most. Emmeline's story was one of quiet bravery, a tragic tale of someone who gave everything in the battle against darkness, yet was largely forgotten by the world she fought to protect. Number 12. Ted Tonks. Ted Tonks's story is one of quiet bravery, often overlooked in the shadow of more prominent figures. He was a Muggle-born wizard who dared to marry Andromeda Black, defying the strict bloodline purity upheld by her family. His marriage to a member of the Black family, especially Andromeda, who had already been disowned for marrying a Muggle, made him an outcast among the most influential pure-blood families. "I never thought you'd be afraid of a little family scandal," Andromeda remarked to him once, acknowledging the challenge he faced in a world obsessed with blood purity. During the Second Wizarding War, Ted's Muggle-born status made him a target. The regime under Voldemort hunted down wizards like him, and Ted had no choice but to go into hiding. Despite the danger, he never abandoned his principles. Ted didn't just protect himself, he helped other Muggle-borns escape and fight for their rights. He chose to fight for justice, even when his own life was on the line. "There are still good people left," he said to his daughter Nymphadora, giving her a glimpse of the bravery that ran through his veins. Ted's courage was not about the spotlight. He wasn't a famous leader, nor did he seek fame. His bravery was found in the small, everyday choices he made, helping others, standing up for what was right, and fighting against the growing darkness. His eventual death in the forest was tragic, but heroic. He didn't go down fighting for glory, he died fighting for justice, in the shadows of the war, away from the eyes of the world. His final act was one of pure courage, proving that even those who aren't in the spotlight can make a monumental difference. Ted Tonks's life reminds us that heroism doesn't always come with recognition or fame. His choices, though not always noticed, made him a hero in every sense of the word. He wasn't born into greatness, he forged it through his actions. His death, though sad, is a reminder that true courage often lies in the sacrifices made behind the scenes. Ted Tonks may not have been a shining star in the wizarding world, but his bravery in the face of injustice made him a hero who will never be forgotten. Number 13. Dean Thomas. Dean Thomas's story is often overshadowed by the louder personalities around him. Although he studied alongside Harry, his presence in the narrative felt secondary. He played Quidditch, was friends with Seamus, and even dated Ginny. Yet his character never took centre stage. In a world filled with heroes, Dean remained a quiet, dependable figure. But this doesn't mean he wasn't important. He was always there when it mattered, standing by his friends in times of need. "Dean was one of us," Harry says, recognizing the quiet strength that made him indispensable. After the fall of the Ministry, Dean's life took a sharp turn. His father had disappeared when he was young, and without proof of his parentage, Dean became a fugitive. Despite the constant fear of being caught by Death Eaters, he never turned to Voldemort's side. Instead, Dean chose to fight back. "I'm not going to hide," he said, even as danger loomed closer. His decision to continue resisting, even in the face of overwhelming odds, speaks volumes about his character. While others might have been broken by the world around them, Dean stood firm. Dean's loyalty was unwavering, and his resilience in the darkest times stood out. While others wrestled with fear, he refused to be swayed. He didn't have the same fame or recognition as Harry, but his contribution to the fight against Voldemort was no less significant. When the war intensified, Dean kept fighting and he never wavered from his beliefs. He became an essential part of the resistance, proving that bravery is not always about grand gestures, but about standing firm when the world falls apart. Dean's story is one of quiet strength. In a world where most heroes have their moment in the spotlight, he remains in the background, his courage often unacknowledged, but it's in these moments of silence, of standing alone, where his true strength lies. Dean Thomas might not have been the loudest or the most celebrated, but his unshakable resolve and loyalty made him a hero, just as deserving of recognition as the others who fought by his side. Number 14, Arthur Weasley. Arthur Weasley often stood in the shadow of his more prominent family members like Fred, George, or Ginny. He wasn't a hero of battles, nor a loud leader, yet his influence on the story was undeniable. While others fought in grand wars, Arthur fought with quieter strength. He represented kindness, a deep respect for Muggles, and a genuine belief in equality. His simple nature hid a heart of gold. He was the one who took Harry in without hesitation, treating him like a son when he needed it most. During the darkest times, Arthur didn't seek glory or fame. Instead, he risked his job at the ministry to speak the truth. He believed in doing what was right, even when it cost him. Arthur Weasley was not a man to hide behind his desk when the battle came, says Harry. His loyalty to the Order of the Phoenix was unwavering, and even when his life was on the line, he stayed committed. He faced danger in the ministry, where he was gravely injured, yet he never backed down. In a world filled with darker, more flashy characters, Arthur's steadiness was a constant. He was the silent backbone that held the moral compass of the magical world. He wasn't the one casting the most powerful spells or leading daring raids, but he was there when it mattered. The truth was, Harry felt a warmth and safety when Arthur spoke. It was as if Arthur's very presence could push back the shadows, says the book, capturing the essence of his unshakable integrity. Through every moment of tension and terror, Arthur Weasley stood firm, his influence sometimes subtle, yet always powerful. He fought for what was right, not by sword or spell, but with simple, unflinching belief in the good of others. His character was a reminder that heroism doesn't always come in the loudest forms, and sometimes it's the quiet strength that changes the world. Number 15, Aberforth Dumbledore. Aberforth Dumbledore, the younger brother of Albus Dumbledore, is one of the most underrated and underexplored characters in J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series. While his older brother Albus is revered as one of the greatest wizards of all time, Aberforth's role is often relegated to that of a grumpy innkeeper at the Hog's Head, whose personality is marked by sharp words and an aloof demeanor. However, this seemingly minor character is far more important than many readers initially realize. His hidden contributions to the wizarding world and the central plot of the series reveal a complex figure whose actions go largely unrecognized, overshadowed by the brilliance and tragedy of his older brother. Aberforth first appears in the narrative when Harry and his friends visit the Hog's Head in Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. There, Aberforth's gruff manner contrasts with the warm hospitality expected in a pub, but this sets the tone for his character, practical, straightforward, and somewhat detached. His disdain for his brother, Albus, is evident throughout the series, but the reasons behind this bitterness remain elusive until much later in the narrative. The Hog's Head in itself, a rather dreary place, reflects Aberforth's personality, unrefined but full of hidden depth. It serves as a quiet backdrop to the more grandiose events that unfold at Hogwarts and in the larger wizarding world, yet it is also a place of unexpected significance. As the story progresses, Aberforth's role becomes increasingly crucial, especially during the Battle of Hogwarts. Despite his reluctance to engage in the larger battles of the wizarding world, he plays a key part in ensuring that Harry and his friends can enter the castle unnoticed. In Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Aberforth reveals a secret passageway that allows them to infiltrate Hogwarts during a time of great danger. This small but pivotal act demonstrates that Aberforth, though gruff and seemingly uninterested in the greater fight, is deeply connected to the events at Hogwarts. He provides a vital means of escape and entry, ensuring that Harry, Ron, and Hermione can continue their mission without interference from the Death Eaters that control the school. Aberforth's involvement in the Battle of Hogwarts goes beyond just opening a secret passage. He also helps Harry, Hermione, and Ron in a more personal way. When the trio finds themselves trapped by Death Eaters in Hogsmeade, it is Aberforth who comes to their rescue, using his powerful magic to protect them. This moment is significant because it shows that Aberforth is not the simple, grumpy innkeeper he appears to be. He is a strong and capable wizard, fully capable of standing up against the forces of evil, even though he does so in his own, understated way. It is not until this moment that readers realize how deeply involved Aberforth has been. In the fight against Voldemort and the Death Eaters, despite his seemingly withdrawn nature, Aberforth's power as a wizard is a central part of his character that is often overlooked. Throughout the series, Aberforth is portrayed as a somewhat secondary figure, always in the shadow of his more charismatic and influential brother, Albus. However, it is clear from his actions that Aberforth is no lesser wizard. He is capable of casting powerful spells, as seen during his defense of Harry and his friends, as well as his ability to keep the Hog's Head running as a place of refuge for those who are wary of the more dangerous factions in the wizarding world. In fact, Aberforth's defensive magic and quick thinking during the chaos of the Battle of Hogwarts suggest that he is a skilled and accomplished wizard, one whose talents have been overshadowed by his complicated family history and strained relationship with his brother. The tension between Aberforth and Albus Dumbledore is one of the most compelling aspects of Aberforth's character. Their relationship is fraught with unresolved issues stemming from their shared childhood and the tragic events surrounding their sister, Ariana. The death of Ariana, caused by a magical accident, is a defining moment for both brothers. Albus, driven by a desire to change the world and achieve great things, becomes increasingly distant from his family, leaving Aberforth to care for their sister and the family estate. Aberforth's resentment toward Albus grows over the years, fueled by the sense that his brother abandoned him in their time of need. This conflict is not just about a difference in personality or ambition, but also a deep-seated emotional wound that shapes Aberforth's actions throughout the series. When Aberforth finally opens up about his past, particularly his relationship with Albus, readers gain a deeper understanding of his character. He is not simply a bitter man who resents his brother's success, but a man who has lived through personal tragedy and hardship. His role as the caretaker of his family and the emotional toll of his sister's death weigh heavily on him. This explains much of his bitterness toward Albus, who, despite his brilliance, never fully acknowledges the pain and sacrifice Aberforth endured. In the Deathly Hallows, Aberforth reflects on how Albus's ambition for power and influence led him to make choices that indirectly caused harm to those closest to him. This revelation adds depth to both brothers' characters and makes Aberforth's eventual role in the battle against Voldemort all the more significant. Number 16. Fleur Delacour. Fleur Delacour often stood out as the stunning, elegant participant from France in the Triwizard Tournament, a girl whose beauty and grace seemed to overshadow her true character. In the films, she was often portrayed simply as the lovely foreign competitor with little depth beyond her appearance. Her role was relegated to little more than a beautiful face, an object of admiration for many of the male characters, with little emphasis on her inner strength or significance within the broader story. But those who only knew Fleur through the film's lens would be missing the depth that J.K. Rowling so carefully wove into her character within the books. Fleur's journey is one of growth, resilience, and an unwavering devotion to those she loves. She might have started as the seemingly superficial, beautiful girl from Beauxbatons, but she evolved into a hero in her own right, one who broke stereotypes and proved her inner strength time and again. At first glance, Fleur Delacour seemed to embody the ideal of beauty, grace, and foreign charm, but that appearance only told a fraction of her story. In Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Fleur competed in the Triwizard Tournament, where she impressed many with her magical abilities, particularly during the second task. Yet it was not just her skill with magic that made her a standout figure in the books. It was her determination and unwavering commitment to her family and loved ones that set her apart. While many assumed Fleur was little more than a pretty face, her actions in the battle for her family's safety would later prove that she was anything but shallow. Fleur's true strength is displayed most notably in her relationship with Bill Weasley. Her love for him goes far beyond the superficial. While Fleur's beauty was often the first thing people noticed, it was her strength of character, loyalty, and the depth of her emotions that set her apart from the crowd. When Bill was attacked by Fenrir Greyback, the notorious werewolf, Fleur's reaction was immediate. Though Bill's injuries were severe, Fleur did not flinch. In fact, she showed remarkable bravery and resolve. She was not frightened away by the physical scarring left on Bill's face after the attack. Instead of recoiling in horror, she made a vow to be with him, to stand by his side no matter the consequences. In Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, Fleur's commitment to Bill is revealed as both an act of love and personal strength, defying the superficial judgments that others may have made about her. Fleur could have easily walked away, choosing someone without scars or danger in their future, but she didn't. This speaks volumes about her character. The decision to marry Bill after his near-fatal encounter with Fenrir Greyback was not a decision based on external beauty or societal expectations, but rather a profound act of inner strength and loyalty. Fleur's love was not superficial. It was grounded in something far more significant: devotion, selflessness, and courage. She didn't allow the harsh realities of life, such as the transformation Bill would undergo due to his werewolf injuries, to deter her. Instead, Fleur proved her commitment to him, not just in the easy moments, but through the trials that would test their relationship in unimaginable ways. Fleur's loyalty extended beyond just her romantic relationships. In Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, Fleur becomes a crucial member of the Weasley family, particularly during the Battle of Hogwarts. Fleur was not one to sit idly by while her loved ones were in danger. When the time came to fight, Fleur stood strong alongside the rest of the Weasley family, playing her part in the resistance against the dark forces threatening the wizarding world. She did not hesitate to get involved, to fight for what was right and to protect her loved ones. This was not the behavior of a vain, shallow character, as some might have expected. It was the act of a true hero, someone who had learned to prioritize love, loyalty, and justice over personal fears or comfort. Her actions during the Battle of Hogwarts also shed light on her loyalty to her family and her understanding of the larger, more important battles in life. Fleur's place in the battle was not to stand in the background, admiring the courage of others. Instead, she actively participated in the fight against Voldemort's forces, proving her worth not just as a participant in the Triwizard Tournament, but as a strong and capable witch willing to risk her life for the greater good. Fleur had shed any remnants of her earlier image as just a beautiful girl who wanted attention. She had transformed into someone who was steadfast and unshakable, willing to make sacrifices for the protection of those she loved. But perhaps Fleur's most remarkable quality was her ability to break free from stereotypes, especially those related to her beauty. In a world where physical appearance often defined a person's value, Fleur defied those expectations by demonstrating that she was so much more than what met the eye. While her beauty was certainly a prominent part of her character, it was never her defining trait in the books. It was her courage, her devotion, and her unwavering support for those she loved that made her truly stand out. Fleur's story was about rejecting societal labels, proving that a person's worth is determined not by their looks, but by their actions and their integrity. Through Fleur, Rowling explores the importance of inner strength, love, and loyalty in a way that feels both timeless and necessary. Her evolution from a seemingly shallow character into a powerful, courageous figure serves as an important reminder that we should never judge someone based on their appearance alone. Fleur's journey is one of growth and development, showing that true beauty lies within, and that courage often comes from the most unexpected places. Number 17, Narcissa Malfoy. Narcissa Malfoy, a character often overshadowed by the more prominent figures in the Malfoy family, is in many ways one of the most underappreciated figures in the Harry Potter series. Her portrayal in the films is limited, and in the books she is often relegated to a secondary role, often dismissed as little more than a devoted mother who stands by her husband's side. However, beneath her poised and aristocratic demeanor lies a character of deep complexity, one whose actions hold far more weight than initially apparent. Narcissa Malfoy, while often in the background, plays a crucial role in the story's ultimate resolution, particularly through her actions in the Forbidden Forest. It is here, in a moment of immense personal conflict, that she makes a decision that will ultimately save Harry Potter's life and contribute directly to the downfall of Voldemort. Throughout the series, Narcissa is introduced as the epitome of a pure-blood aristocrat, haughty, cold, and compliant with her husband Lucius's ideals. She remains outwardly aligned with Voldemort and the Death Eaters, prioritizing the preservation of her family's reputation and safety above all else. Yet, despite her initial coldness, her character is not defined by her affiliation with dark forces. It is her love for her son, Draco Malfoy, that gives her character a sense of depth, illustrating the lengths she is willing to go for family. She, unlike her husband, who is fiercely loyal to Voldemort, starts to show subtle signs of doubt in the darker path their lives have taken. This shift is particularly noticeable during the later parts of the story, where her actions begin to speak louder than her words. One of the key moments that showcases Narcissa's complexities occurs in the final book, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. As the Battle of Hogwarts reaches its climax, Narcissa finds herself standing in the Forbidden Forest, facing a series of impossible choices. Her son Draco has been forced into service under Voldemort's command, and her husband is far from the honorable man he once seemed. Narcissa's character, up until this point, has always been one to follow the established rules. Be it in her marriage, in her family, or in her allegiance to Voldemort. However, at the pivotal moment when Harry is about to be executed by Voldemort, Narcissa makes a choice that defies all her previous actions and beliefs. Her decision to lie to Voldemort, claiming that Harry is dead, is a subtle but powerful act of rebellion. Narcissa's decision is not just an act of maternal love, though that plays a crucial role. It is also a moment of recognizing her own humanity in the face of evil. By saving Harry's life, she chooses her son's safety over the Dark Lord's command. This moment, while not immediately noticed by many of the characters in the story, becomes one of the most pivotal in the entire series. Narcissa's love for her son overpowers her loyalty to Voldemort, and it is this love that ultimately helps bring the downfall of the Dark Lord. Her action, although seemingly small, has an enormous ripple effect, one that will change the fate of the wizarding world forever. Narcissa's decision is particularly poignant when contrasted with the nature of Voldemort's followers, who are often depicted as fanatical in their devotion to their master. Most Death Eaters are shown to be willing to sacrifice anything, even their own families, in the pursuit of power and immortality. Narcissa, however, does not fit into this mold. She is not a fanatic, she is a mother. It is her maternal instinct, her love for Draco, that drives her to risk everything in that moment. While others, like Bellatrix Lestrange, continue to serve Voldemort unquestioningly, Narcissa's actions represent the human side of the battle, a battle that is not simply about good versus evil, but about the personal choices that define individuals. It is these personal choices that ultimately win the war. When Narcissa lies to Voldemort, she is fully aware of the consequences of her actions. She knows that Voldemort's wrath, should he find out the truth, will be devastating, but her loyalty to her family trumps her fear of the Dark Lord. The lie she tells is not just a simple act of deception, it is an expression of deep love and personal courage. In this moment, Narcissa reveals the fundamental flaw in Voldemort's power, his inability to understand or appreciate the importance of human emotion. While he is consumed by his desire for control, Narcissa sees that love, family, and humanity are ultimately the forces that define the outcome of the war. In the context of the larger narrative, Narcissa's act of deception is often overlooked in favor of more overt acts of heroism, such as those performed by Harry, Hermione, and Ron. Yet without Narcissa's choice, the Battle of Hogwarts would have ended very differently. Harry's survival is a direct result of Narcissa's lie. She, unknowingly, becomes one of the key players in the destruction of Voldemort. Her decision not only saves Harry's life, but also sets the stage for his eventual triumph over the Dark Lord. What is also striking about Narcissa's character is her willingness to accept the moral ambiguity of her actions. She does not deny that her choice to lie is a betrayal of Voldemort, yet she understands that it is a necessary betrayal for the greater good. She recognizes that the survival of her son and the defeat of Voldemort are intertwined, and that her role, while small in the grand scheme of the battle, is nonetheless vital. This acceptance of her role in the larger narrative is a testament to her growth as a character. She is no longer simply the passive wife of Lucius Malfoy or the compliant follower of Voldemort. She has become a mother who is willing to take a stand for what she believes is right. Number 18, Colin Creevey. Colin Creevey is a character in the Harry Potter series who, at first glance, might seem to be nothing more than a quirky and somewhat annoying presence. His relentless admiration for Harry Potter, always running around with his camera in hand, capturing every moment and loudly proclaiming Harry's name, made him a figure who was often written off as little more than comic relief. His enthusiasm was infectious, but at times borderline irritating. Yet, as the story progresses, especially during the final battle at Hogwarts, Colin's true character emerges, transforming him into one of the most courageous and tragically underappreciated figures in the series. In the early books, Colin Creevey's role seems minimal, almost one-dimensional. He is introduced in the Chamber of Secrets as a first-year student at Hogwarts, starstruck by the mere existence of Harry Potter. Colin idolizes Harry to the point of obsession, following him around with a camera and asking to take endless pictures of him. His excitement about having a real-life celebrity at school is clear, and while some fans find his antics endearing, others might view him as a bit of a nuisance. However, it is important to note that this enthusiasm was never malicious. Colin's love for Harry stemmed from admiration, not a desire to annoy. In a way, Colin represented the innocence and wonder of a child who had just entered a magical world and was thrilled to be part of it. As the series unfolds, Colin's role in the larger narrative begins to shift. He is more than just a fan, he is an active participant in the events that unfold around him. When the Second Wizarding War escalates, Colin's bravery begins to surface. In The Order of the Phoenix, as Harry and his friends grow older and the stakes become higher, Colin, despite his youthful age and slight frame, is not content to sit on the sidelines. He isn't the type of character to shy away from danger or to remain passive in the face of dark forces threatening the wizarding world. Colin may have been a mere child when he first appeared, but by the time Voldemort's army marches towards Hogwarts, he has grown into someone willing to fight for the cause. It is during the Battle of Hogwarts in the Deathly Hallows that Colin Creevey's courage is finally recognized in full. While many students flee, seeking safety in the arms of their families or within the protective walls of Hogwarts, Colin does the opposite. He chooses to stay, choosing the side of the light over the comfort of survival. When the final battle begins, Colin joins his fellow students, fighting alongside Harry, Hermione, and Ron. His presence is no longer that of an annoying child who just wants a picture for his scrapbook. Instead, he is a warrior, ready to defend the school and his friends with everything he has. Colin could have easily escaped the battle. After all, he was still very young, a mere second-year student in a war that was far beyond his years. But he did not retreat. He stood by his friends, choosing to fight, even though he knew the dangers that lay ahead. His actions in the Battle of Hogwarts symbolize the ultimate form of bravery, sacrificing one's safety for the greater good, for the protection of those who cannot protect themselves. Colin's choice to fight in this battle was not driven by glory or recognition. He fought because it was the right thing to do and because he believed, like many others, that Voldemort and his followers could not be allowed to win. His fight was for the future, for the children who had not yet been born, and for the world he wanted to leave behind. Sadly, Colin's bravery comes at a great cost. In a battle filled with loss and destruction, Colin's death is one of the most poignant and heartbreaking moments. The young boy, whose life had been filled with excitement and enthusiasm for magic, is killed during the chaos of the final battle. His death, like so many others in the war, is tragic, not because he was a hero, though he was, but because of how much potential was lost. Colin was a young soul, a bright-eyed boy with dreams of greatness who was caught up in a war that did not care about innocence or age. The fact that he was so willing to stand up and fight for what was right makes his death all the more devastating. The narrative around Colin's death is understated in many ways. It is not a moment of grandiose heroism. Instead, it is a quiet tragedy. No dramatic final words or lengthy goodbyes accompany his death. Instead, his sacrifice is something that happens amidst the chaos like so many others. This lack of fanfare, this quiet and humble departure, speaks volumes about Colin's character. He did not seek recognition for his bravery. He was not a hero in the traditional sense of the word, but his actions were as heroic as any other. His death serves as a reminder that sometimes the truest acts of bravery are not the ones that get remembered by the masses, but the ones that happen in the shadows without fanfare or applause. In the aftermath of the Battle of Hogwarts, it is clear that Colin Creevey's legacy is not defined by his moments of comic relief or his youthful idolization of Harry Potter. Rather, it is defined by the fact that despite his age and inexperience, Colin was willing to give his life for something greater than himself. His sacrifice stands as a testament to the power of courage, to the idea that bravery is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to face it head-on, no matter the cost. Colin Creevey may not have lived to see the end of the war, but his bravery in the face of overwhelming odds is something that will live on in the hearts of those who fought alongside him. Harry Potter, like many others, was deeply affected by the loss of Colin. Though Harry himself was often the target of Colin's endless admiration, he would have come to see the depth of Colin's character over time. Harry's grief at the loss of a young boy who had always looked up to him is evident, and it serves as a reminder of the deep emotional toll that war takes on everyone, not just those who are directly involved in the fight. Harry's reflection on Colin's death, coupled with his own experiences in battle, forces him to confront the harsh realities of the world they all lived in. Colin's death was not in vain, though. It was a symbol of the sacrifice that so many made to ensure a better future for the wizarding world. In the grand narrative of the Harry Potter series, Colin Creevey is often overlooked. He is seen as a mere footnote, a small character who serves as a bit of comic relief in the early books. However, upon closer examination, it becomes clear that Colin's role in the story is much more significant than it first appears. He embodies the spirit of selflessness and bravery that runs throughout the entire series. Colin is not the hero that readers expect, but he is in many ways the hero that the series needs, a reminder that courage comes in all shapes and sizes, and that even the smallest of voices can make a profound difference in the fight against darkness. Colin Creevey's death is tragic, but it is also a reminder that sometimes the most profound acts of bravery come from those who are least likely to be remembered. His legacy may not be one of fame or recognition, but it is one of quiet strength and unwavering loyalty. He may have been a small character in the grand scheme of the story, but his actions speak volumes about the kind of person he was, someone willing to put others first, even at the cost of his own life. Colin's bravery may not have been acknowledged in the way that other characters' sacrifices were, but his contribution to the battle against Voldemort was just as significant, and his memory should be cherished. Number 19, Charlie Weasley. Charlie Weasley is often regarded as one of the most enigmatic members of the large Weasley family. Despite his impressive career and many fascinating experiences, he seems to have slipped through the cracks of the fandom, receiving far less attention than his brothers, particularly Harry, Ron, and Fred. This is perhaps due to his absence from the main plotlines of the Harry Potter series. His significant role, though, was overlooked in the films, where he was barely more than a passing mention. However, if one looks closely at the books, Charlie's character emerges as someone far more complex and deserving of attention. The first time readers encounter Charlie is in the Goblet of Fire, but even here he does not take centre stage. He is mentioned briefly when the Weasley family gathers at the Burrow, and it's revealed that he works with dragons in Romania. This piece of information alone sparks curiosity, as it sets him apart from all other Weasleys. While most of the Weasley children lead fairly typical lives for young wizards, Charlie's life is filled with constant danger and excitement. His occupation is nothing short of daring, as he risks his life on a daily basis handling some of the most dangerous creatures in the wizarding world. Dragons, with their fiery breath and enormous strength, are not something a typical wizard would dare to approach, yet Charlie does so with both determination and a passion for the creatures. In The Goblet of Fire, Charlie's absence during the Tri-Wizard tournament becomes a point of discussion. Though he couldn't attend the Yule Ball, the impact of his role in the wizarding world was still felt. Charlie is an essential member of the team that helps organize the tournament, particularly in the preparation of the dragons for the first task. It was Charlie who, with great effort, worked with the Hungarian Horntail, the dragon assigned to Harry, for his first challenge. He wasn't just an expert on dragons, he was also a key player in the protection and handling of these magical beasts, ensuring the safety of both the dragons and the participants. Charlie's willingness to take on this dangerous task speaks volumes about his bravery and his commitment to the task at hand. Yet, this side of him is often overshadowed by his more well-known family members. Though Charlie's career working with dragons takes him far from his family in the burrow, his loyalty and sense of duty to his loved ones never wavers. As the events of the series unfold, Charlie becomes a quiet but steadfast supporter of the Order of the Phoenix, the resistance group fighting against Voldemort's rise to power. Even though he's not physically present in many of the major battles, his contributions to the cause were no less significant. Charlie's role in helping the Order is significant because it highlights a key trait of his character: selflessness. He may not have been fighting on the front lines with Harry, Ron, and Hermione, but his involvement with the Order was crucial in ensuring that they had the support they needed to carry out their missions. In the Order of the Phoenix, his name appears among the list of those who contributed to the war effort, though his actions remain largely in the background. One of the most overlooked aspects of Charlie's character is the way he interacts with the magical creatures around him. Dragons, with their immense power and unpredictable nature, represent both the literal and metaphorical danger that permeates Charlie's life. Yet instead of fearing them, Charlie embraces the challenge of understanding them. His bond with these creatures speaks to a deep level of empathy and patience. Charlie doesn't merely handle dragons for a paycheck. He's deeply connected to them, seeing beyond their intimidating exterior and recognizing them as beings worthy of respect. This is a characteristic that's often attributed to the Weasley family as a whole, the ability to see the good in others, even when they are difficult to understand or seemingly dangerous. However, Charlie's connection to the dragons is far more direct and personal. He isn't simply working with them to appease the Ministry of Magic or to make a living. To Charlie, they represent something larger, a connection to the wild, untamed parts of the magical world. In the Deathly Hallows, Charlie's absence from the final battle may be seen as another missed opportunity for character development. He was, after all, an experienced fighter with significant magical knowledge, yet his contributions during the Battle of Hogwarts are minimal. However, this should not diminish his overall importance. His absence could be seen as a deliberate choice by J.K. Rowling to highlight the different ways that people contribute to a cause. Charlie's battle was not one fought with wands in hand on the front lines. Instead, he fought by ensuring that the magical creatures were protected, that the necessary resources were in place for the war effort, and by quietly offering his support where it was most needed. In many ways, Charlie's fight was fought off the battlefield, where his expertise and knowledge helped shape the larger war effort in ways that weren't immediately visible. While Charlie's role in the books is certainly understated, the moments we do get to see him are significant and reflect his true nature. For example, in The Goblet of Fire, when Harry is faced with the challenge of facing the Hungarian Horntail, Charlie's presence behind the scenes, guiding and supporting, is crucial. His understanding of dragons allows Harry to be successful, and although Charlie is not physically present in the task itself, his influence is felt throughout. This is a common theme in Charlie's character arc. He is the quiet supporter, the one who helps behind the scenes without asking for recognition or praise. It's not about the fame or the glory for Charlie, it's about doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. Charlie's absence from the films has been a significant point of frustration for many fans of the series. While Fred and George, Ron, and even Ginny all had their moments to shine in the adaptations, Charlie's character was relegated to the background. The films chose to minimize his role, perhaps because they wanted to focus more on the main characters, or felt that his contributions were secondary to the plot. However, this decision to overlook Charlie's potential in the films diminishes the richness of his character that is so evident in the books. In a way, Charlie's lack of screen time serves as a metaphor for his life. While his actions were always meaningful and important, they never sought the limelight. He was content to do his part and let others take the glory. Charlie's character is a reminder that sometimes the most interesting people are not always the ones in the center of the action. He may not have been involved in every battle, but his role in the fight against Voldemort and his contribution to the magical community cannot be understated. Charlie Weasley was an unsung hero, a character whose quiet bravery, selflessness, and love for magical creatures made him one of the most interesting figures in the series. His actions, though understated, were integral to the overall success of the Wizarding World's fight against evil, and his loyalty to his family and his friends set him apart as a true Weasley at heart. Number 20, Peeves. In the world of Harry Potter, there are countless memorable characters, each contributing in their own unique way to the magic and mayhem of J.K. Rowling's universe. Among the most colourful figures in Hogwarts, one character who often goes unnoticed in the films, yet plays a fascinating role in the books, is Peeves, the poltergeist. Although never given the screen time he deserved, Peeves remains an essential part of the Hogwarts ecosystem. His pranks, mischievous behavior, and unpredictable nature bring both chaos and, surprisingly, moments of inspiration. Peeves was more than just an annoying presence. He was a symbol of the house spirit that lingered within Hogwarts walls. Peeves had an almost legendary reputation among the students of Hogwarts. He was not merely a prankster. He was the embodiment of chaos and disorder. His antics were as relentless as they were irritating. From throwing water balloons at professors to rearranging students' belongings, he had no boundaries. However, it wasn't just the students who were affected. Professors, including the usually stoic Professor McGonagall, found themselves victims of Peeves' elaborate schemes. Even the mighty headmaster Dumbledore wasn't immune. Peeves' talent for creating discord was unparalleled, and yet he remained something of a lovable nuisance. His antics, though infuriating, were undeniably part of the peculiar charm of Hogwarts. The reason Peeves was never included in the films is somewhat of a mystery, but the character's absence left a noticeable gap. In the books, he was not simply a source of trouble, he was a character full of life with an innate energy that contributed to the Hogwarts atmosphere. He was a mirror to the students' own sense of rebellion and freedom, the kind of unpredictable spirit that defined the school's nonconformist culture. His chaotic presence was not just to entertain, it also illustrated the unpredictability of life at Hogwarts. The students, who were so used to the rules and expectations placed upon them, found a certain freedom in the sheer absurdity of Peeves' actions. Despite his love for causing chaos, Peeves had a deeper connection to Hogwarts that many overlooked. In the final battle at Hogwarts, he became an unexpected hero. As the battle raged on, Peeves took it upon himself to hinder the Death Eaters in his own unique way. In the midst of the chaos, he was not content with merely watching from the sidelines. He actively sought out ways to disrupt the forces of darkness, even if it meant using his usual, unconventional methods. For instance, he hurled furniture at the Death Eaters, creating obstacles for them to navigate. His actions, though comedic, were an act of defiance against the invaders of his beloved school. But Peeves' contribution to the Battle of Hogwarts wasn't limited to just throwing things around. He also composed songs mocking the Death Eaters and spreading a sense of camaraderie and defiance among the students and defenders of Hogwarts. It was in these moments that Peeves' true loyalty to the school shone through. The poltergeist, who had spent so much of his time in mischief, was now a force of good, helping to protect the very place he had caused so much trouble in. The students, who had long seen him as a nuisance, now found themselves grateful for his unpredictable antics. Peeves, the troublemaker, had become a symbol of resistance and unity in the fight against evil. The final battle was a moment of redemption for Peeves, proving that even the most chaotic and seemingly troublesome individuals could play a significant role in the fight against darkness. While the students fought courageously and the professors worked tirelessly to protect the school, Peeves provided a different kind of support. He disrupted the Death Eaters' attempts to infiltrate Hogwarts, using his unique talents to make the battle more difficult for the dark forces. His actions, though simple in execution, were crucial to the defense of the castle, showing that every contribution, no matter how small or unconventional, had its place in the larger battle. Peeves's unexpected heroism during the Battle of Hogwarts is a testament to his true nature. While he may have been a nuisance throughout the series, his deep-rooted loyalty to the school and its inhabitants was always present, hidden beneath the surface of his chaotic nature. His mischief, though often seen as bothersome, was never malicious. It was simply his way of interacting with the world. And when it came time to defend Hogwarts, Peeves showed his true allegiance, proving that even the most unlikely heroes have a place in the fight against darkness. Though Peeves' actions during the Battle of Hogwarts were largely overlooked in the films, they represent a key moment in his character arc. It is in these moments that Peeves truly transcends his role as a mere troublemaker. He becomes a symbol of the unpredictable, chaotic nature that Hogwarts thrives on. His pranks, which had once been a source of annoyance, now served a higher purpose, to protect the very place that had allowed him to exist in the first place. Peeves, the poltergeist, who had been so infamous for his mischievous behavior, had proven himself to be a true defender of Hogwarts. The loyalty Peeves displayed in the final battle also highlights a central theme in the Harry Potter series: the importance of loyalty and love in the fight against evil. While characters like Harry, Hermione, and Ron are often seen as the central figures in the battle against Voldemort, it is the loyalty of everyone in the wizarding world, even those who seem insignificant, that ultimately helps bring about victory. Peeves's actions remind us that heroism can come from the most unexpected sources. It is not always the bravest or most powerful who make the difference, but those who are willing to fight for what they love, even in the most unconventional ways. In a sense, Peeves embodies the spirit of rebellion and defiance that runs through the heart of Hogwarts. His role in the final battle serves as a reminder that sometimes the most valuable contributions come from those who are often overlooked or misunderstood. Peeves, the poltergeist, may have been a constant source of irritation for many, but in the end, he proved himself to be a true ally in the fight against darkness. His actions may not have been grand or heroic in the traditional sense, but they were no less important. In a world filled with darkness and uncertainty, Peeves's unexpected heroism was a light that shone brightly, even if it was just for a moment. Peeves's absence in the films is a curious thing. His character, so vibrant and full of energy, would have added a unique layer to the story. He was not just a prankster. He was a living embodiment of the unpredictable magic that made Hogwarts so special. Peeves was part of the fabric of Hogwarts, and his absence in the films leaves a gap in the representation of the school's chaotic yet lovable nature. While his pranks were often disruptive, they also brought a certain joy and spontaneity to the otherwise structured world of Hogwarts. Peeves, in his own way, reminded the students and professors alike that magic wasn't just about rules and precision. It was about the joy of the unexpected, the thrill of the unknown, and the freedom to break the rules when the situation called for it. The decision to leave Peeves out of the films may have been a missed opportunity, but it doesn't diminish his importance in the books. Peeves's story is a reminder that sometimes the most important characters are the ones who aren't always in the spotlight. They may not be the heroes in the traditional sense, but their contributions, no matter how small or chaotic, are just as valuable. Peeves may have been a poltergeist, but in the end, he was a hero in his own right. His loyalty to Hogwarts, his willingness to fight for it, and his role in the final battle demonstrate that even the most unpredictable characters have a place in the fight against evil. Number 21, Andromeda Tonks. Andromeda Tonks, one of the most tragically understated characters in the Harry Potter series, stands as a testament to the often unnoticed strength that many characters display in the shadows of grander tales. A member of the infamous Black family, known for their strict adherence to blood purity and disdain for Muggle-borns, Andromeda made a choice that forever altered her path, setting her apart from her relatives in a brave and decisive break from their narrow world-view. She was not just a side character whose fate could be easily overlooked, but a quiet hero whose life and choices profoundly impacted the lives of others. Andromeda's family history is steeped in the darkness of blood purity ideology, with her mother, Walburga Black, and her sisters, Bellatrix Lestrange and Narcissa Malfoy, each playing significant roles in the manipulation of the family name for sinister causes. Bellatrix, with her deranged loyalty to Lord Voldemort, and Narcissa, devoted to her son Draco's safety above all, represent two sides of the same coin of the Black family's rigid values. Andromeda, however, rejected all of this. In choosing to marry Ted Tonks, a Muggle-born wizard, Andromeda shattered the illusions of purity. Her family, so cherished. This choice was not merely an act of defiance, it was a courageous leap into a world that valued love and integrity over blood status. Her decision to marry Ted Tonks was not an easy one. It separated her from her family permanently. The Black family, with all its pride, did not take kindly to her refusal to adhere to their values. The consequence of her marriage was that she was disowned, banished from the Black family tree, which was the ultimate form of rejection in their society. Andromeda, once a prominent member of one of the most prestigious pure-blood families, was erased from their ranks, her name no longer allowed to grace the family tapestry that hung in the Black household. Yet, despite this painful severance, Andromeda remained resolute. She chose love over tradition and loyalty over conformity, a path fraught with personal sacrifice, but one that demonstrated her character's depth, strength. The birth of her daughter, Nymphadora Tonks, was a moment of joy and pride for Andromeda and Ted. However, Nymphadora's later role in the fight against Voldemort and her tragic death marked a deep sorrow in Andromeda's life. Nymphadora, known for her brave spirit, was a member of the Order of the Phoenix, fighting in the war against the dark forces that had once claimed her own relatives. Andromeda, who had already seen her beloved Ted killed in the early days of the war, was devastated by the loss of her daughter. Her grief was profound, and yet Andromeda did not collapse into despair. Instead, she did what few could imagine. She continued. She remained a pillar of strength for her grandson, Teddy Lupin, who was left orphaned by the tragic deaths of his parents, Remus Lupin and Nymphadora Tonks. In the chaos and heartbreak that followed the deaths of her loved ones, Andromeda's resolve only grew stronger. Teddy Lupin, a symbol of both the past and the future, was a constant reminder of what had been lost and what was worth fighting for. Andromeda stepped in to raise Teddy as her own, offering him the love and guidance that had been stripped from him by the war. As a grandmother, she became an anchor for Teddy, providing him with the nurturing he needed as he grew up in the shadow of both his parents' legacy and the greater wizarding world's tumultuous history. Andromeda's role as a caregiver for Teddy Lupin is a quiet yet vital part of her character's strength. She never sought attention or glory for the sacrifices she made, but her resilience and unwavering love spoke volumes about her integrity and devotion. In her actions, she demonstrated a quiet form of heroism that the wizarding world often overlooks, an everyday kind of heroism that does not involve the bravado of battle or the glamour of fame, but the raw, unyielding courage required to survive personal tragedy and continue raising the next generation to understand the value of love and acceptance. Her understated heroism is evident in how she handled the loss of her own family. Unlike her sisters, who remained tied to their dark legacies, Andromeda did not indulge in hatred or vengeance. She did not mourn her disownment in the way that one might expect, but rather accepted it, choosing to build a life with her husband and later raising her daughter in an environment of warmth and love. When faced with her daughter's death, Andromeda did not turn away from the world. Instead, she opened her arms to her grandson, offering him the stability and support that she could. The tragedy of Andromeda's life is not just in the losses she suffered, but in how little she is acknowledged for the quiet sacrifices she made. While characters like Harry Potter, Hermione Granger, and Ron Weasley are celebrated for their heroic actions, Andromeda's heroism is wrapped in quiet, selfless love. Her strength, her willingness to stand by her family, even when they had cast her aside, is a type of bravery that is often overshadowed by the more dramatic acts of war. But it is her steadfastness in the face of such overwhelming loss, and her willingness to raise her grandson, no matter the pain of her past, that deserves recognition. One of the most poignant aspects of Andromeda's life is how she continued to hold on to the principles she had always valued. Throughout her story, there are no grand speeches or dramatic moments of triumph, yet her life speaks volumes about the power of individual choices. Her decision to marry Ted, her steadfast love for her daughter, and her undying support for Teddy are actions that ripple through the story, shaping the lives of those around her. She is a quiet but essential part of the story of the Tonks family, and by extension, the larger fight against Voldemort's tyranny. Though Andromeda's story is not filled with the heroic grandeur of many other characters in the series, her life represents the uncelebrated everyday bravery of those who continue to fight for what is right, even when the world seems broken beyond repair. She may not have been a central figure in the battle against Voldemort, but she played her part in a far more personal way. Her refusal to follow the prejudices of her upbringing, her ability to find love in a world that prized blood over character, and her resilience in raising her grandson after the death of her daughter all point to a deeper form of heroism. In the end, Andromeda's life shows that heroism comes in many forms, not all of them loud and grand. Her quiet strength, her love for her family, and her determination to make a life for herself, even after all that she had lost, is a reminder that even the most overlooked characters in the Harry Potter series have the potential to embody great acts of heroism. Andromeda Tonks may not have been a central figure in the battle for the wizarding world's future, but her role in the lives of those she loved was no less significant. Through her, we see that the greatest acts of heroism are often those that go unnoticed, and yet they are the ones that carry the most weight. Number 22, Ursula Black. Ursula Black, a name that does not echo loudly in the pages of the Harry Potter series, yet reverberates through the very heart of the Black family tree. is an enigma. Her existence is whispered in the darkest corners of wizarding history, barely acknowledged by those who cling to the ideals of blood purity, but it is from her that the first cracks in the Black family's long-standing doctrine of superiority began to appear. Though her name is almost erased from the records, the echoes of her defiance and her choices reverberate in the lives of those who chose to reject the toxic ideals of their heritage, most notably in her grandsons, Regulus and Sirius. Ursula's rebellion was not loud nor outwardly defiant. Rather, it was quiet, subtle, and filled with an inner strength. The Black family, known for its obsession with blood purity, had long adhered to a rigid hierarchy where half-bloods and muggle-borns were regarded with disdain, a belief system passed down with zealous devotion. The idea that one's worth was defined solely by bloodline was deeply ingrained in the family's psyche. But Ursula, whose name was often omitted from family discussions, dared to question these convictions. She was one of the rare Blacks who saw beyond the walls of their aristocratic home and looked to the broader world, one where muggle-borns were more than just inferior beings, where magic could be a force for unity, not division. Ursula's most significant act of defiance was her secret connection with the Muggle world. She had long harbored a curiosity for the people the Black family deemed lesser. Her clandestine ties with Muggles were not widely known, and those who were aware either dismissed them as an anomaly or erased them from the family's history. It is believed that it was these connections that laid the foundation for the division that would eventually tear the Black family apart. Ursula's choice to form bonds with Muggles represented a silent yet powerful rejection of the family's long-standing doctrine of magical superiority. Her actions became the catalyst for the rebellion that would follow in the next generations. As the family tightened its grip on the ideals of pure blood supremacy, Ursula's influence quietly spread among those most receptive to change. While her rebellious spirit was never outwardly aggressive, it nonetheless left an indelible mark on her descendants. Her son, Orion Black, the father of both Regulus and Sirius, would continue to uphold the values of the Black family, but he would pass on to his children the echoes of Ursula's descent. Though Orion might have adhered to the belief in blood purity, the seeds of doubt had already been sown. Within his sons, Regulus and Sirius, Ursula's quiet rebellion became a whisper that would eventually grow into a roar. It was Sirius who would most notably take up Ursula's mantle, though his path was not an easy one. Born into a family that embraced the ideals of their bloodline, Sirius was expected to carry on the Black tradition. But as he grew, it became clear that he was not like the others. He rejected the idea that his worth should be measured by his lineage, and instead he sought to forge his own identity, one that was not shackled by the suffocating expectations of his family. This defiance was undoubtedly influenced by Ursula's example. Though she hadn't been there to guide him directly, the choices she made long before him had created a crack in the Black family's walls, and it was through this crack that Sirius found the courage to defy the life laid out for him. Regulus, too, was touched by Ursula's legacy, though his journey was far more tragic. Unlike Sirius, Regulus initially chose to embrace the Dark Lord's ideology, aligning himself with Voldemort's quest for blood purity. But Regulus, much like his grandmother, was not entirely comfortable with the path he had chosen. His eventual rebellion against Voldemort was a direct result of the inner turmoil that Ursula had unwittingly passed down to him. Regulus realized that he could not continue to uphold the beliefs he had once adopted, and in a desperate attempt to undo the wrongs he had committed, he made the ultimate sacrifice. Regulus's decision to oppose Voldemort, even at the cost of his own life, was a reflection of the deep-seated moral compass that Ursula had instilled in the family. even if it had been buried beneath layers of generational trauma. The idea that Ursula had any lasting impact on the Black family is often dismissed or overlooked, but it is in the quiet acts of defiance that true change is often born. Her rebellion was not one of violent protest, but of personal choices that left an imprint on the family's history. She was the first to question the sanctity of pure-blood ideology, and it was from her questioning that the Black family's traditions began to unravel. The key story of Ursula Black is not one of fame or notoriety. It is one of quiet resistance, of making choices that defy the system, even when doing so means risking one's place within it. Her story is not widely told, yet it reverberates in the lives of those who, like Sirius and Regulus, chose a different path. Ursula was the invisible force that subtly steered the course of the Black family's future, pushing it toward a more progressive and inclusive outlook, even if that future was far from perfect. Her influence might have been indirect, but it was undeniable. Her legacy is evident in the very act of defiance that Sirius displayed when he chose to stand against the Dark Lord, and it is even more apparent in Regulus's final act of rebellion, a quiet, desperate attempt to make amends for the sins he had committed. Ursula's story highlights the importance of questioning inherited beliefs and the role of small, seemingly insignificant acts of rebellion in creating change. The Black family's history is one of division, power, and supremacy, but it is also a history of quiet resistance. Ursula may not have had the recognition she deserved, but her story serves as a reminder that true change often begins in the most unexpected of places. Her name may have been erased from the family tree, but her influence continues to shape the course of wizarding history. Her legacy lives on in the choices made by Sirius and Regulus, two brothers who ultimately rejected the dark path their family had set for them. In the end, it was Ursula's quiet resistance that made possible the ultimate rebellion against the forces of darkness, a rebellion that would help shape the outcome of the Second Wizarding War. Though Ursula Black may never be remembered as a hero in the traditional sense, she remains a pivotal figure in the history of the Black family and in the larger struggle for a more inclusive and just magical world. Her story is a testament to the power of small, individual acts of defiance and a reminder that even the most overlooked and erased figures can leave an indelible mark on history. In the case of Ursula Black, that mark is seen in the lives of those who dared to question, to rebel, and ultimately to fight for a better world. Number 23, Argus Filch. Argus Filch, the cantankerous caretaker of Hogwarts, is a figure that many dismiss with little thought, even less sympathy, often the target of mockery and frustration. Filch was not the kind of character that inspired admiration in the same way as the beloved heroes of the series. He was known to be irritable, grumpy, and seemingly obsessed with maintaining a strict order at the school, a trait that made him unpopular among students and even many of the staff. His main companion, Mrs. Norris, a scrappy cat, was often his only ally, and he seemed to live in a world filled with magical wonder, yet was forever separated from it, trapped in his own mundane reality. But underneath this gruff exterior there lies a much more profound story, one that sheds light on the quiet, painful existence of someone who is often overlooked in the wizarding world. For a wizarding community that revels in magic, Filch's position is tragic. He is a squib, someone born into a magical family but lacking any magical ability himself. While his peers can summon spells with a flick of their wands, Filch must rely solely on his physical strength and the tools of the mundane world. Living in a castle full of magic, he is like an outsider in a world where magic is the norm. It's impossible not to feel the weight of his isolation, something that makes his loyalty to Hogwarts even more remarkable. His inability to use magic is a constant reminder of his inferiority in a world that measures worth by magical ability. His job as caretaker, maintaining the vast, enchanted castle and all its magical necessities, is made all the more bitter by the fact that he can never be a part of the world he serves. This bitterness manifests itself in Filch's character. He is harsh with students, quick to punish them for the slightest infractions. His obsession with discipline and order makes him a figure of dread among the students of Hogwarts. He is the ever-watchful eye of the school, lurking in the shadows, waiting for any excuse to write someone up for rule-breaking. His authority is seemingly absolute, yet there is a hollowness to it, a sense that Filch is desperately trying to maintain control over something that is slipping through his fingers. His management of the school's punishment system is perhaps his only real source of power, but even that power is ultimately a facade. Filch knows deep down that his control is tenuous, and he is perpetually frustrated by his inability to be anything more than a bystander in the world of magic. Mrs. Norris, his cat, plays a central role in Filch's life. She is the one being that he seems to trust, the one entity in his life that offers him a semblance of companionship. The way he clings to her is indicative of the deep loneliness that pervades his existence. It is a relationship rooted in dependence, and for Filch, it might be the only connection he can count on in a world that has largely rejected him. When Mrs. Norris is in danger, Filch's reaction is one of panic and fear, demonstrating how fragile his sense of purpose truly is. His attachment to her is not just that of a caretaker to a pet. It is the bond of someone who has few others to rely on, who finds solace in something, even if that solace is not truly reciprocated. But Filch's story is not just one of bitterness and frustration. It is also one of quiet resilience. Despite his lack of magical ability, he remains steadfast in his duties at Hogwarts. He serves the school with a level of dedication that can't be overlooked. In a place full of students who can conjure fire with a snap of their fingers and professors who wield magic like an extension of their own being, Filch continues to show up every day, doing his job without complaint. He doesn't have the luxury of a wand or spells, but he does have the determination to keep going. His job may seem mundane, and his methods may be harsh, but they come from a deep-rooted sense of duty. Filch stays at Hogwarts because it is the only place he belongs, and despite the harshness of his character, that loyalty is something that can be respected. The fact that Filch is a squib is more than just a detail of his backstory. It is central to his identity. The wizarding world, as vibrant and magical as it is also one that often equates value with power. Magic is everything in this world. Those who have it are revered, while those who don't, like Filch, are often looked down upon. It's important to note that Filch's inability to perform magic is not his fault. It is simply an accident of birth, something he cannot control. Yet it defines him in the eyes of others. He is often mocked or pitied, and while he outwardly presents a tough, gruff exterior, it's clear that these feelings hurt him deeply. In a world where everyone else seems to have an advantage, Filch's disadvantage is glaring. Yet, instead of retreating into bitterness, Filch remains, taking his post seriously and giving everything he has to the place he calls home, even if it doesn't fully accept him. A moment that stands out in Filch's story is when he is given the task of looking after the secret passageways of Hogwarts. The fact that he is trusted with such an important responsibility, despite his lack of magic, speaks volumes about his integrity and work ethic. While other staff members might have questioned the logic behind entrusting such a task to a squib, Filch takes it on with the seriousness it deserves. He knows that he can't rely on magic to guard the school, So he does it the only way he knows how, through vigilance, attention to detail, and sheer willpower. The way he takes his job seriously, even when others might dismiss it as trivial, is a testament to his resilience. He has found a way to carve out a role for himself in a world that doesn't fully accept him, and in doing so, he gains a small measure of respect. Filch's relationship with magic, or rather his lack of it, is also a reflection of the theme of identity in the wizarding world. While the magical community is obsessed with lineage, with the strength of one's magical abilities, Filch's story shows that there is more to a person than their magical prowess. Filch's worth is not defined by his ability to cast spells, but by his unwavering commitment to Hogwarts. He might not be able to perform magic, but he is still an essential part of the school. His role, while often unappreciated, is nonetheless vital. His actions, though unsung, contribute to the overall well-being of the magical community. One of the most poignant moments in Filch's story is his desire to be able to use magic. In Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, Filch is seen trying to use a clean-up charm only to fail miserably. This moment is a rare glimpse into Filch's vulnerability. It is a rare instance where he shows his longing for a world he can never fully participate in. In this moment, we see that Filch is not just a bitter, angry man. He is a person who feels left out, who wants something more. This moment, brief as it is, humanizes Filch, and it's impossible not to feel sympathy for him. Ultimately, Filch is a character whose pain and suffering are often overlooked. His gruff demeanor and his reliance on Mrs. Norris often overshadow the deeper layers of his character. But Filch's story is one of perseverance, one of a man who refuses to let his lack of magic define him. In a world where everyone else can wield power, Filch chooses to stay, choosing to be a part of something greater than himself. His devotion to Hogwarts, his resilience in the face of adversity, and his quiet, often unseen role in the wizarding world make him a character worth understanding and perhaps even empathizing with. Number 24, Seamus Finnegan. In the Harry Potter series, some characters stand out immediately, while others take more time to reveal their depth. Among those who are often overlooked, one character who deserves more recognition is Seamus Finnegan. Known to many as the comic relief of the group, Seamus initially seems like a minor character, a clumsy and excitable boy who often finds himself in explosive situations, both literally and figuratively. Yet beneath his boisterous exterior lies a character who undergoes a remarkable transformation, one that mirrors the broader themes of growth, courage, and the search for identity that run throughout the series. At the start of his journey, Seamus is very much a reflection of the world around him, which is filled with uncertainty and divided loyalties. The wizarding world is in turmoil, and Seamus, like many others, struggles to navigate the complexities of his beliefs. Early in the series, he is depicted as someone who doubts Harry's claims about Lord Voldemort's return. When Harry first tries to convince his friends about the Dark Lord's return in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Seamus reacts with skepticism. He even goes so far as to question Harry's integrity, influenced by the Ministry's narrative that Harry is merely seeking attention. This disbelief creates tension between Seamus and Harry, and he becomes one of the few people who is not immediately swept up in Harry's cause. However, Seamus's journey is one of self-discovery and growth. It would have been easy for the narrative to keep him as a simple skeptic or foil to Harry, but J.K. Rowling allows him to evolve. His transformation begins when he witnesses firsthand the dangers of Voldemort's return. In The Order of the Phoenix, Seamus is eventually confronted with the harsh truth when his own mother, who has been swayed by the Ministry's propaganda, begins to doubt him. Her disbelief in Harry's warnings is one of the key factors that makes Seamus's transition all the more personal. He feels the weight of his mother's opinions, but also realizes that his loyalty should lie not with her misplaced fears, but with what he knows is true. This internal struggle illustrates Seamus's development from someone unsure of his beliefs to someone ready to fight for what is right, even if it means disagreeing with his own family. By the time the events of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince unfold, Seamus has come to terms with his doubts and has found his place in the fight against Voldemort. Unlike many of his peers, Seamus doesn't just passively follow orders or merely try to survive. He actively chooses to support Dumbledore's army, an underground group led by Harry, that works to defend Hogwarts against the increasing danger from Voldemort's forces. This marks a significant shift from his earlier indecision. Seamus is no longer the boy who questioned Harry. He is now a willing and active participant in the battle for the school's future. Seamus's involvement in Dumbledore's army is more than just a token gesture. It represents his courage to stand up for what he believes in, even though it might put him at odds with the beliefs of others. He becomes an active player in the struggle, showing not only his growth as a person, but also his courage in the face of the unknown. When the school is invaded by Death Eaters in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, Seamus chooses to fight rather than run. He is no longer the comic relief, but a determined young wizard, ready to defend his friends and his home. Seamus, alongside his friends, takes part in the Battle of Hogwarts, one of the most significant moments in the entire series, and this marks his ultimate transformation from a hesitant bystander to a key player in the resistance against Voldemort. This evolution is not just about his personal growth, but it also speaks to a larger theme in the series, the importance of standing up for what is right, even when it is difficult. Seamus's journey from skepticism to full support of Harry and his cause is an integral part of the story. He represents the idea that people can change, that they can be uncertain or afraid, and still find the courage to take action when it matters most. Seamus's relationship with his mother also provides a poignant illustration of this theme. Throughout the series, we see Seamus torn between his loyalty to his mother and his growing understanding of the world. His mother's influence on him is strong, and initially he cannot bring himself to defy her, even when it means going against his best friend Harry. Yet over time, Seamus realizes that true courage is not about following orders, but about doing what is right, regardless of what others think. This realization is what ultimately pushes him to become a key member of Dumbledore's army, a decision that requires not only courage, but also the ability to trust his own instincts over the doubts that have been instilled in him by others. Seamus's role in the Battle of Hogwarts, although less prominently featured than those of characters like Harry, Hermione, and Ron, is no less significant. In a moment of life or death, Seamus steps up, his previous doubts and fears completely erased. In the thick of the battle, Seamus is one of the many students who fights with everything they have, embodying the spirit of resistance that has come to define the students of Hogwarts. His participation is a powerful reminder of the strength that can be found in unity and the importance of fighting for what is just. Through all this, Seamus's story reminds us that not every hero wears a bright, shining armor. Some heroes are those who start with doubts and grow through their mistakes and uncertainties. Seamus's transformation is a reflection of the reality that heroism is not always about being brave from the outset, but about finding the courage to do what is right in the face of adversity. His growth from a comic figure to a valiant defender of Hogwarts highlights one of the most crucial aspects of J.K. Rowling's narrative: the idea that even the most unlikely characters can rise to the occasion when their beliefs are tested. Seamus's journey also touches on the theme of self-identity and personal responsibility. Throughout the series, he is defined by his choices. In the beginning, his actions are dictated by the opinions of others, whether it is the influence of his mother or the ministry's propaganda. But as the series progresses, Seamus starts to define himself by his own actions. He refuses to be a passive observer of the events unfolding around him. Instead, he chooses to actively participate in the fight against Voldemort. This shift from a passive role to an active one is one of the most striking aspects of his character arc and highlights the importance of individual agency in shaping one's destiny. Ultimately, Seamus Finnegan's character arc is a reminder that growth is often born from mistakes, doubts, and fears. His evolution from a skeptical, somewhat comical character to a brave and loyal member of Dumbledore's army is one of the most compelling examples of the transformative power of and self-discovery in the Harry Potter series. Seamus, though often overlooked, proves to be one of the most complex and human characters in the entire saga. His journey encapsulates the idea that no one is beyond redemption and that heroism can come from even the most unlikely sources. Number 25, Madam Hooch. Madam Hooch, a character who seems to fade into the background in the vast world of Harry Potter, is perhaps one of the most underappreciated figures in the entire series. She makes only sporadic appearances, primarily as the Quidditch referee, and yet her contributions, though subtle, are crucial to the development of some of the series' most beloved characters. Despite her brief role, Madame Hooch's influence is far-reaching, especially when it comes to her teaching methods and her dedication to her students. She might not have had the dramatic arcs that other characters did, but her presence in the lives of the Hogwarts students, particularly Harry Potter, cannot be underestimated. Madame Hooch's most significant role is as the instructor of flying at Hogwarts. Her class is one of the first moments where new students, particularly Harry, learn to interact with the magical world in a deeply personal way. Flying isn't just an activity for students at Hogwarts, it is a rite of passage. For someone like Harry, who had never experienced magic in such a direct form before, Madame Hooch's lessons were crucial in giving him his first taste of what it meant to truly belong in this magical world. The moment when Harry first takes to the air on his broomstick, under her watchful eye, sets the stage for his future in Quidditch, a defining part of his Hogwarts experience. Madame Hooch not only introduced him to flying, but did so in a way that was both demanding and encouraging. The risks involved in teaching students to fly on brooms cannot be overstated. Flying is dangerous. The fact that Madame Hooch was willing to take on such responsibility speaks volumes about her dedication to her students. She wasn't simply going through the motions of teaching. Madame Hooch's lessons were about instilling confidence in her students, showing them how to push their limits while maintaining a careful balance between discipline and care. When Harry catches the golden snitch in his first match, it is evident that Madame Hooch's influence in his early flying lessons played a pivotal role in shaping his success as the youngest seeker in a century. Her teaching methods were straightforward yet kind, while many of the other professors, especially those in higher positions, seemed to have a mix of sternness and a detached professionalism. Madame Hooch's balance of authority and compassion is what makes her stand out. She didn't allow any room for laziness or fooling around, yet her sense of fairness and understanding towards her students never wavered. When Harry's flying lesson goes awry in the Philosopher's Stone and he gets caught in a dangerous situation, Madame Hooch is firm with him, but her concern is clear. She is a teacher who knows how to instill respect, but also how to show when it's time to protect her students. One could argue that Madame Hooch's role as the flying instructor was central not only to Harry's personal growth, but also to the growth of his friendships. After all, it is during the flying lessons that Harry meets Draco Malfoy, who would go on to become one of his greatest rivals. In a sense, Madam Hooch unknowingly set the stage for many of the relationships that would shape Harry's life at Hogwarts. Without her early introduction to flying, the rivalry between Gryffindor and Slytherin would have played out very differently. While she was not directly involved in the animosity between the two houses, her role in their first interaction underlines how even the smallest moments in the magical world have far-reaching consequences. Moreover, Madam Hooch's absence from later books serves as a reminder of just how many characters are introduced, only to be sidelined by the overwhelming focus on other plot points. However, this doesn't diminish her importance in the overall structure of the story. Her absence is a testament to how many figures, though integral, do not receive the attention they truly deserve. She was the one who taught Harry to fly, after all. She was also the one who helped him when he was struggling, both emotionally and physically, after that first encounter with the broomstick. A lesser character might have turned away from such an opportunity, but Madam Hooch, with her sharp eyes and sharp words, recognized something in Harry that even he did not know existed. She saw his natural talent, his resilience, and her guidance helped to shape Harry into the Quidditch player he would become. The very fact that Harry's success in Quidditch was not based purely on his innate talent, but on his training and the solid foundation Madam Hooch laid, highlights the significant role she played in his growth. When Harry first takes the broom in the air, it is clear that there is something special about him. But it is Madam Hooch's strict, yet caring methods that allow him to grow into that role, to understand the seriousness of the sport, and to become one of the best seekers of all time. The fact that he becomes the youngest seeker in a century is a direct result of the attention and care she invested in him when others might have written him off as just another kid trying his best. Even though Madame Hooch is a relatively minor character in the broader narrative of the series, her impact cannot be dismissed. The fact that she does not appear much after the first book does not lessen her importance. In fact, it makes her contributions to Harry's success even more significant. She was there in his early years, teaching him something that would not only help him fit into the world of magic, but also build his self-confidence. In the grand scheme of things, that is an invaluable gift. A teacher who helps build the foundation of a student's future is as important as one who helps them succeed in the end. What's most striking about Madam Hooch is that despite her stern demeanor, she truly cares for her students. Her influence is subtle, almost like a gentle force, guiding them in the right direction. She might not have been part of the intense drama of the Triwizard Tournament or the battles against the Dark Lord, but she was integral to the lives of the students she taught. She was a mentor, a protector, and a guide. Her lessons were not just about flying brooms. They were about perseverance, trust, and the importance of pushing past fear. Harry's journey was about learning to overcome the many obstacles in his path, and Madam Hooch was one of the first teachers to instill that lesson in him. Her role in the Harry Potter series may be overshadowed by grander, more dramatic moments, but that does not diminish her significance. Madam Hooch taught Harry how to fly, quite literally, but she also taught him how to trust in himself, to take risks, and to pursue excellence without fear of failure. It's easy to overlook her because she didn't have a central role in the larger conflicts of the series, but her lessons remain some of the most essential moments in Harry's early life at Hogwarts. Ultimately, Madam Hooch embodies the quiet strength of a teacher who does not seek glory, but whose influence ripples through the lives of those she touches. It is precisely because she's not front and center in the action that her contribution is so powerful. she is a reminder that not all heroes need to fight in epic battles or make grand speeches. Some heroes simply do their jobs with dedication and care, and their impact is felt in ways both subtle and profound. Madam Hooch might not be a headline character in the Harry Potter series, but she is certainly a character worth remembering. Number 26. Daedalus Diggle. In the vast world of Harry Potter, where wizards and witches abound, some characters are frequently overlooked despite their profound impact on the unfolding events. One such character is Daedalus Diggle, a seemingly eccentric figure who, at first glance, appears to be little more than a quirky oddball. His shining hat and strange behavior often serve as the source of amusement for those around him, but beneath the surface of this peculiar wizard lies a deeper story, one of quiet courage and unyielding loyalty to the Order of the Phoenix. Diggle's presence in the Harry Potter series, though not overtly significant in terms of plot development, holds a subtle but important place in the broader narrative. He is introduced to readers as a member of the Order of the Phoenix, an organization dedicated to resisting the dark forces of Lord Voldemort. The Order, comprising some of the most powerful and influential wizards in the wizarding world, is not just a symbol of strength, but of unity in the face of evil. In this context, Diggle's role as a member of this organization, though largely behind the scenes, is one of quiet bravery and steadfastness. Throughout the series, Diggle is mentioned in passing, often in relation to his observations of Harry Potter during his early years. For instance, he is one of the people who was involved in watching over Harry when he was living with the Dursleys. His involvement in Harry's life during this crucial time speaks to his quiet commitment to the fight against Voldemort, even in the most unassuming of ways. He was one of the many individuals who played a part in ensuring Harry's safety, his life hidden away from the dangers that lurked in the wizarding world. Though his contributions were never widely recognized, they were vital to the preservation of Harry's well-being. The story of Harry's evacuation from the Dursleys' home on Privet Drive further illuminates Diggle's role. It is in this operation that he takes part in a perilous mission to ensure Harry's safe transport to the Burrow as Voldemort's forces begin to close in. The importance of this moment cannot be understated. It marks a turning point in the battle between good and evil, where Harry, the boy who lived, becomes a key target of the Dark Lord. Diggle's participation in the mission, though not as prominently featured as other characters, is a testament to his bravery. He risks his life to ensure that Harry is delivered to safety, standing as a humble yet essential figure in the ongoing war against Voldemort. What makes Diggle such an intriguing character, however, is not merely his actions, but his nature. Unlike the grand and powerful figures like Harry, Dumbledore, or Sirius Diggle is a representation of the ordinary wizard, the unsung hero. He doesn't possess exceptional magical abilities or a prominent family background. Instead, he embodies the notion that anyone, regardless of their status, can make a significant difference when they stand up for what is right. His dedication to the cause, despite being overlooked and often treated as a source of comic relief, highlights the often forgotten heroes who work quietly behind the scenes. In many ways, Diggle's character reflects the larger theme of the Harry Potter series, that heroism does not always come in the form of great displays of power or grandeur. His role in the Order is one of subtlety, where small but important actions add up to a significant contribution to the fight against evil. He is one of the many members who are willing to risk everything for a cause they believe in, even when their individual efforts seem insignificant in the grand scheme of things. One of the most striking features of Diggle is his unwavering loyalty. Despite his eccentricities and the often comedic nature of his character, his commitment to the Order of the Phoenix and its goals is unwavering. He does not seek fame or recognition for his actions. Instead, he is content to work behind the scenes, doing what is necessary to help those he cares about. This selflessness is a quality that is often overshadowed by the more prominent characters in the series, but it is no less important. Diggle's loyalty to the cause reflects the broader theme of sacrifice and loyalty that runs throughout the books. Diggle's inclusion in the Order also serves as a reminder that the battle against Voldemort was not fought solely by the most powerful wizards, but by a collective of individuals from all walks of life. His humble background, his unremarkable magical abilities, and his often eccentric demeanor do not diminish his worth as a fighter against darkness. In fact, it is his very ordinariness that makes him a powerful symbol of resistance. He is the embodiment of the idea that anyone, regardless of their talents or social status, can be a hero if they are willing to stand up and fight for what is right. Despite his more significant contributions to the Order's efforts, Diggle never seeks the limelight or attempts to position himself as a central figure in the fight against Voldemort. His work, often done behind the scenes, is a reminder of the countless others who gave their all in the war against the Dark Lord, whose names may not be etched into history, but whose sacrifices were no less valuable. In this sense, Diggle is the unsung hero, a character who represents the many ordinary people who risked their lives for the greater good, without ever seeking recognition or reward. Diggle's role in the books also touches on an important aspect of the Harry Potter universe, the theme of hidden strength. Throughout the series, many characters are revealed to be far more capable and resilient than they initially appear. Diggle, with his somewhat comical and eccentric personality, is no exception. While he may seem like a harmless, quirky wizard on the surface, his actions reveal a depth of courage and loyalty that is often underestimated. He is, in many ways, a reminder that strength comes in many forms, and that sometimes the most important battles are fought quietly in the background. As the series progresses, it becomes clear that Diggle's role in the fight against Voldemort was not a fleeting one. His continued involvement in the Order and his dedication to protecting Harry and others make him an integral part of the resistance. He is one of many who refuse to bow to the forces of darkness, willing to risk everything for the sake of future generations. While he may not be the most powerful wizard or the most recognized hero, his contributions are invaluable to the overall victory. In the end, Daedalus Diggle is a character who encapsulates many of the key themes of the Harry Potter series. He is a symbol of humility, loyalty, and bravery, someone who is willing to fight for what is right, even when the odds are stacked against him. His unassuming nature and willingness to work behind the scenes serve as a reminder that heroism comes in all forms and that sometimes the greatest acts of courage are the ones that go unnoticed. Though his role in the story may be small, his contributions are vital, and he remains a testament to the power of ordinary individuals in the face of extraordinary evil. It is these quiet heroes like Daedalus Diggle who make the wizarding world a better place, reminding us all that we are all capable of making a difference, no matter how small or humble our actions may seem. Number 27, Madame Irma Pince. Madame Irma Pince, the librarian of Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, is one of the most enigmatic characters in the Harry Potter series. Though often overlooked, her presence and role in the school are far more significant than they initially appear. Positioned at the heart of Hogwarts, surrounded by towering shelves of magical books, some forbidden and all containing a wealth of knowledge, Madame Pince embodies a steadfast protector of ancient secrets and forbidden lore. While she might appear stern and even irritable to the students, her dedication to her role goes far beyond mere disciplinarianism. The Hogwarts Library itself is a treasure trove of magical knowledge, home to hundreds of thousands of volumes, some benign and others dangerous, capable of wielding immense power. Madam Pince oversees this vast collection, ensuring that every book is accounted for and that no student dares to take an unsupervised glance at a book they are not meant to read. It's a task that requires not just an affinity for books, but an extraordinary sense of responsibility. While students might be quick to dismiss her as simply a strict librarian, she is, in fact, the guardian of powerful knowledge, and the weight of this responsibility is clear in every moment she spends in the library. Her strictness, especially when it comes to keeping students away from the restricted section, might seem almost comical at times. Her hissing tsh as she ushers students away from forbidden books is an iconic moment in the series. Yet her actions are far from humorous. If one considers the nature of the books she guards, her vigilance becomes clear. Many of the books in the restricted section are not merely scholarly tomes or harmless textbooks. They are dark, dangerous, and could easily be used for evil if fallen into the wrong hands. In a school filled with young witches and wizards, many of whom are still learning to control their magical abilities, Pince's role is pivotal in ensuring that such knowledge doesn't get misused. She is not simply preventing mischief, she is protecting the world from the chaos that could ensue if certain magical secrets were unlocked by those unprepared to wield them. Madam Pince's unrelenting commitment to guarding this knowledge is underscored by her deep understanding of its power. She knows precisely where every book in the library resides, down to the very shelf and corner. It's a level of detail that might seem obsessive, but it reflects the immense responsibility she carries. Her role as librarian is more than just shelving books. She serves as the first line of defense against magical recklessness. She is more aware of the students' comings and goings than they realize. She can likely recall who borrowed Hogwarts, a history, and when, perhaps even knowing what parts of the book a particular student was most interested in. Her knowledge of the library's contents, its history, and its secrets is so vast that it almost makes her an authority figure in her own right, someone who wields quiet power and influence over the school's most dangerous and powerful magical texts. The library is not merely a place of learning in Hogwarts, it is a place where untold stories, magical spells, and the secrets of the past are kept hidden from the uninitiated. Many students come to the library seeking answers to questions they don't fully understand, perhaps hoping to find some clue about their destiny or gain power. But it's the librarian, Madam Pince, who truly holds the answers. She may not be the most outwardly charismatic or charming character in the books, but her subtle presence carries weight. She is the one who watches, listens, and keeps track of who is interested in what kinds of magic. She is both the silent observer and the ever-vigilant protector. The library, for all its beauty and allure, would not be the same without her, and it is perhaps telling that she is the only person at Hogwarts who truly understands the library's worth. Her interaction with the students of Hogwarts is telling. For most of them, Madam Pince is a shadow, a stern figure, always there, lurking in the background, watching as they rush from one task to the next. She is not there to guide them in their studies or offer them advice, but to ensure they do not stray from the path. She doesn't open the doors of forbidden knowledge to them, and she doesn't offer the kind of warmth that other teachers might. Her relationship with the students is not one of mentorship or nurturing, but of control and caution. Her role is not to indulge the curiosity of the young, it is to maintain order, to make sure that curiosity does not extend to the darker, more dangerous realms of magic. Madam Pince's role, while often seen through a lens of humour or frustration, is one of profound significance. Without her, the library would be a place of chaos. The danger that lurks within the restricted section is very real. Texts like The Dark Forces, A Guide to Self-Protection, or Moste Potente Potions are filled with potentially lethal knowledge. It is not an exaggeration to say that these books could alter the course of history depending on who reads them and how that knowledge is used. Pince, with her hawk-like gaze, ensures that no one falls victim to that temptation. Her sharp eye for detail ensures that these books remain protected and that Hogwarts remains a place where magic is used responsibly and safely. It is no accident that she is stationed in the heart of the school, watching over the repository of the most dangerous knowledge. Throughout the books there are subtle hints that Madame Pince is aware of more than she lets on. In Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, when Harry and Ron find themselves trying to gain access to the restricted section, Pince's suspicious behavior suggests that she knows exactly what they are up to. She may not know the details, but she knows the students well enough to understand when something is amiss. Her quiet vigilance throughout the story is a constant reminder that she is always on alert. Even when the students are not actively engaging with the dangerous materials in the library, Pince is there, watching, observing. She represents a part of Hogwarts that is both known and unknown, a part of the school that is as much about caution as it is about learning. One of the most interesting aspects of Madame Pince's character is how she remains largely unseen in the larger narrative of the series. In a school filled with powerful wizards and witches, magical creatures, and dark forces at play, Pince could easily be dismissed as a minor character. However, her presence is felt throughout the series. Her role as the guardian of knowledge gives her a unique and vital position within the story. She may not wield a wand or participate in the battles of good versus evil, but she stands as a silent force for order and protection in the magical world. Her quiet heroism is not about the grand gestures, but about the constant, unwavering duty she performs in the background. The final point to consider is that Madame Pince's devotion to her role is emblematic of a certain kind of heroism that goes unnoticed. While the protagonists of the Harry Potter series are often out fighting dark forces, wielding magic in the heat of battle, Madame Pince's heroism is subtler. She ensures that the school does not fall prey to its own recklessness. She guards the most dangerous knowledge in the world, keeping it safe from those who might misuse it. This quiet, unassuming bravery, often overshadowed by the more dramatic heroics of others, is one of the most important, yet underrated aspects of the Hogwarts experience. In her own way, Madame Irma Pince is as heroic as any of the more well-known characters in the series.